Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who started his 8-day official visit to China after wrapping up his US visit, following his address at the UN General Assembly in New York, met with Chinese President Xi Jinping this afternoon. During the meeting, Premier Dahal said that the Nepal-China relations have reached a strategic level. Premier Dahal is attending in the opening ceremony of the Asian Games and is scheduled to visit Beijing tomorrow and meet his Chinese counterpart Li Qiang tomorrow itself. Good evening, I'm Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who is in his China visit, meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Premier Dahal attending today's opening ceremony of the Asian Games. Relief teachers continue their protest in Kathmandu even after the Nepal Teachers Association reached an agreement with the government, say their demands have not been addressed. Veteran US Senator Robert Menendez temporarily steps down as head of the Chamber's powerful Foreign Relations Committee as he battles bribery charges. And Chatur Bahadur Chand re-elected unopposed as the president of the Cricket Association of Nepal. Chand commits to focusing on domestic tournaments and restructuring women's cricket. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has met with Chinese President Xi Jinping today. After wrapping up his US visit following his address at the UN General Assembly in New York, Prime Minister Dahal reached Guangzhou, China via Hong Kong this morning. Prime Minister Dahal had met President Xi before the inauguration of the Asian Games. Sources have said that the meeting dwelt on the issue of strengthening bilateral relations between the two nations. During the meeting, Premier Dahal had extended well wishes for the success of the Asian Games. Prior to this, Prime Minister Dahal was welcomed at the Guangzhou airport by China's Director of State General Administration of Sports and the President of the 19th Asian Games, Gao Zhidan, as well as Nepalese Ambassador to China, Bishnu Pukar Shrestha. Premier Dahal is scheduled to visit Beijing tomorrow and meet his Chinese counterpart, Li Qiang, tomorrow itself. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said that the Premier will wrap up his 8-day stay in China and will return back home on 30th of September next Saturday. Relief teachers and teachers at child development centers have continued their protest even though the Nepal Teachers Association has already reached an agreement with the government. They held a protest from the capital's Maitighar to Baneshwar today as well. The Relief Teachers Struggle Committee, Child Development Center and Struggle Committee for Pension-Deprived Teachers Center has expressed dissatisfaction towards the agreement reached with the government and have continued their protest. They have said that the agreement does not address their demands. They have demanded for the provision of job security for relief teachers that have continued their work since the past 25 years and for the inclusion of teachers of child development centers in school structure by allocating quota. Vehicular movement between the capital's New Baneshwar and Maitighar had remained largely affected due to the protest today as well. Prior to this, the Nepal Teachers Association had reached a 6-point agreement with the government yesterday. The association had withdrawn all the protest programs following the agreement. Teachers who have continued protest against the education bill presented at the parliament and the agreement reached yesterday had also chanted slogans against the Nepal Teachers Association. President Ramchandra Paudel has reached his home district, Tanahu, today. President Paudel, who visited his home district for the first time today after being elected as the country's president, inaugurated the Damoli Assembly Hall. Conducting programs in the district have now become easy following the construction of the Assembly Hall with the investment of 236.2 million rupees by the Ministry of Urban Development. The President has also unveiled the statue of BP Koirala constructed in the premises of the BP Memorial Park near the Damoli Assembly Hall. The Lapchi border transit in Dolakha, which is connected with China, is set to be opened for a week. The border transit that had remained closed for the past 5 years is set to be open for a week following the government's bilateral efforts. This will allow local residents of Bigu Rural Municipality, Ward number 6, to purchase essential items and sell their cattle. The Chief District Officer of Dolakha, Kamal Dhamala, said that the Tibet administration has agreed to open the border transit for a week from tomorrow. At the time when the border was closed, the local residents were compelled to walk for 3 days towards Nepal to buy essential items in Lama Bagar. A local resident, Karma Weiser Sherpa, has said that they will sell ghee and cattle in China's Kuti and Falak. The main source of income of the residents of Lapchi is selling ghee and calves. There are 46 households in Lapchi. The locals say that around 6,000 liters of ghee had been left unused while the border remained closed. People had started migrating due to difficulty in making their ends meet amid closure of the border for the past 5 years. 7 individuals that had been arrested during the protest against the transfer of teachers in Sonama Rural Municipality of Mahottari have been sent to jail for investigation. On 5th of September, students of Saraswati Secondary School, Sonama, had demonstrated against the rural municipality's decision to transfer 3 teachers. A scuffle had occurred between the agitated local residents, students and police. The Mahottari District Court issued an order yesterday to send in jail 7 individuals in connection with the incident. The court had ordered to provide bail to 1 individual. However, due to failure to pay the amount, the individual too has been sent to jail. In the meantime, 3 individuals, including the former chairperson of Sonama Rural Municipality, have been absconding. Even as commercial banks in the country are lobbying to increase interest rate on deposit, the central bank has shown inclination to reduce interest rate on the same. The government 2 weeks ago provided the facility to commercial banks to count 60% of its deposit in the local levels as its capital. This increased the liquidity flow by about 63 billion rupees in the financial market. However, in the face of liquidity crisis, some 6 banks have increased the interest rate on deposit. These banks that had maintained the interest rate at 10% for the Nepali month of Bhadra have increased the rate to just over 11% for the present Nepali month of Ashwin. Banks have said that the decision was done to save the deposits. According to the central bank, the present interbank rate stands at 2.7%, while the rate was around 8% at the same time last year. In the meantime, the demand for loan for realtor market and vehicle purchase has gone up with the approaching festivities. Commercial banks say that some 40 billion rupees was piped out in loan in the last Nepali month of Bhadra. The same time last year had only seen a loan disbursement of 16 billion rupees. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: what can be done to control the transactions of counterfeit currencies? Your options are A, more police initiation, B, strict laws, and C, general awareness. Voting is on. Tap any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Veteran U.S. Senator Robert Menendez has temporarily stepped down as head of the chamber's powerful Foreign Relations Committee as he battles bribery charges. Justice Department prosecutors allege Robert Menendez and his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in exchange for aid to Egypt's government. The couple have denied the charges. The embattled senator has rejected calls from fellow Democrats back in his home state of New Jersey to resign his seat. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer yesterday said that Menendez had decided to step down as chairman of the influential committee until the matter has been resolved. It is not the first time that 69-year-old Menendez, who has served in Congress since 2006, has had to give up the coveted post on the Foreign Relations panel. He also stepped down in 2015 after being indicted in New Jersey on charges that he had accepted bribes from a Florida eye doctor. That case ended in a mistrial after jurors were unable to reach a unanimous verdict. Maryland Democrat Ben Cardin, who took over as the committee's leading Democrat at the time, is expected again to temporarily ascend to fill the vacancy. Menendez and his spouse, Nadine Arslanian, are accused of accepting bribes of cash, gold, payments towards a home mortgage and a luxury vehicle from 3 New Jersey businessmen. Menendez, the chair of the influential U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, has been an important ally to fellow Democrat Joe Biden as the president has sought to reassert U.S. influence on the world stage, rally support for congressional aid to Ukraine, and push back against a rising China. Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki accused the Ukrainian leader of insulting Poles in his United Nations address this week. Poland's Prime Minister told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to never insult Poles again, returning to harsh rhetoric towards Kyiv after the Polish president had sought to defuse a simmering dispute between the two countries over the issue of Ukrainian grain imports. Zelensky angered his neighbors in Warsaw, a key military ally against Russia, when he told the United Nations General Assembly in New York this week that Kyiv was working to preserve land routes for its grain exports amid a Russian blockade of the Black Sea, put that political theater around grain imports was helping Moscow's cause. Poland extended a ban last week on Ukrainian grain imports in a unilateral move that broke with a European Union ruling. The move has shaken Kyiv's relationship with Warsaw, which has been seen as one of its staunchest allies since Russia invaded Ukraine in February last year. Earlier yesterday, Poland's president said the dispute between Poland and Ukraine over grain imports would not significantly affect good bilateral relations in an apparent move to ease tensions. Duda's comment followed after Prime Minister Morawiecki was reported as saying that Poland would no longer send weapons to Ukraine amid the grain dispute. Polish Foreign Minister Zbigniew Raw said that Poland wanted to see a strong Ukrainian state emerge from this war with a vibrant economy, and that Warsaw will continue to back Ukraine's efforts to join NATO and the EU. However, speaking to reporters in New York, Raw said that while Poland had not changed its policy towards Ukraine, there had been a radical change in Polish public opinion's perception of the country's relationship. The Israeli military has said its forces have conducted air attacks on the blockaded Gaza Strip, where protesters have had confrontations for days with Israeli troops along the separation fence. At least 31 people have been reported injured in the attack. The military said the drone strikes targeted 2 military posts belonging to Hamas movement governing the Gaza Strip, while a tank hit another post from which shots were fired on troops confronting protesters. In Al-Maghazi refugee camp, drones had appeared overhead in a matter of minutes, dropping stun grenades and tear gas canisters on the heavily populated area. Israel shut the Beit Hanona crossing with Gaza last week in advance of the Rosh Hashanah Jewish holiday, preventing thousands of workers from getting to their jobs in Israel and the West Bank. The closure was extended after days of border demonstrations in which Israeli troops opened fire on stone-throwing protesters. Approximately 18,000 Gaza Palestinians have permits from Israeli authorities to work outside the blockaded enclave, providing a vital injection of cash amounting to some $2 million a day to the impoverished territory economy. Peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians broke down more than a decade ago, and violence has soared over the past year and a half, with Israel carrying out frequent military raids in the occupied West Bank. And before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who is in his China visit, meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Premier Dahal attending today's opening ceremony of the Asian Games. Relief teachers continue their protest in Kathmandu even after the Nepal Teachers Association reached an agreement with the government, say their demands have not been addressed. Veteran U.S. Senator Robert Menendez temporarily steps down as head of the Chamber's powerful Foreign Relations Committee as he battles bribery charges. And Chatur Bahadur Chand re-elected unopposed as the president of the Cricket Association of Nepal. Chand commits to focusing on domestic tournaments and restructuring women cricket. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.